Hi everyone, Eric Nelson here once again, and thank you for tuning into my YouTube channel. For today, I am back with another book review on Chantel Seabrook's Cara's 12. Now, I am actually a fan of William Shakespeare's work, but I'm not a die-hard fan. And what I mean by that is I basically like his his stories, but I don't really like how he wrote them. And I think a lot of people who agree with me have the same reason because it's very confusing. And of course, given the time it was written, it probably made a lot more sense to people who lived around that time. Well, of course, now it takes maybe not a lot of skill to understand, but if you're reading it for the first time, I think one of the things that you have to have as a skill is the willingness to reread something like Shakespeare so that you understand it. And I probably had to read probably the stories that I read that Shakespeare wrote. I probably only read a couple of them, but each of them I had to read more than just twice, and I come to like them, and because I know that he was a great storyteller. He just wrote them in a very, for the lack of better words, weird way. But this story, on the other hand, I really see it as something that Shakespeare would have written. Only what Chantel Seabrook does is her way of telling this story is more modern, even though it's set in medieval times. And that's not the only reason why I think Shakespeare would have written it, because it's set in medieval times, but it just seems that way because of how the story is set and how the and how the and how the uh, and how the characters are, and I'll get into that later. But the story centers around the title character by the name of Cara, and she is about to become heir to the throne of her land. But in order to become queen, obviously you need a king by your side, and she is required to visit each of the 12 provinces of the kingdom to find her true soulmate. And as she and as she goes throughout her journey of establishing herself as an authority figure and to find her true love out of the suitors, she sees that a lot of lives will be lost due to the fact that many men want to become her king. But a lot of that with a lot of that going on, she also finds that there is a lot of corruption within her own kingdom. And with that, we see that the main villain of the story goes by the name of Edmund, and he uses all the conflicts between Cara and her cousin Maeve, or Maeve, as well as conflicts with all of the who are as well as the conflicts that are going on within the group of suitors. So if it becomes a madhouse where practically everyone loses their lives what will happen to the royal family as well as the kingdom if the worst happens. So I'll leave it at there. But as I said before, Chantel Seabrook has brought us a familiar tale, which is something that, as I said before, Shakespeare would have written and made it original. And I love how she included the traditional difficultness of a royal person marrying someone. I mean, seriously, royals see marriage as rocket science. Why can't they why can't they just marry someone who they like and be done with it? Why is there this system that takes so long? Now with why I think that it's also why I think that William Shakespeare would have written are the characters, because in a lot of Shakespeare, and well, at least from the ones that I read about that were written by Shakespeare, a lot of his characters seemed bland when they were first introduced, and then as this and as the story went on, we saw that they had their own personality, and that's what happens a lot in this story. And I'm not talking about, the first after the first scene that they develop a personality. It just seemed that way after maybe a few more scenes that we saw that there was a personality there that was original and not a stereotypical character, and in the title characters uh, situation, she wasn't just a copy of the typical woman who was reluctant to get into royalty. Now, with that being said, I think that she is a fan of Shakespeare, and I think she used her love of his work to her own advantage. So, with that being said, this is a great story. I believe whether you like Shakespeare or not, you can get this book anywhere, and I hope to see you all at the bookstore or the iBookstore.